Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel. I have some news for y'all. I know it says day 2. I'm trying to, sorry my eyes, I am trying my damnedest to try to do at least one video a day, try to build my subscription so I can do lives, but I have a bit of news for everybody. The first one to report on this was Tim Pool, and I think I saw it either today or yesterday, but it blew my mind. Let's have a look, shall we? Doge says 312 million in loans were given to children during the COVID pandemic. The Department of Government Efficiency, Doge, announced a further wave of contract terminations late Saturday, noting that they also identified thousands of cases where more than 300 million in loans were granted to children. The announcement came as Elon Musk led agency continues to root out waste and fraud and corruption in the federal government. Doge said it identified that the Small Business Administration granted nearly 5,600 loans for 312 million to borrow, who only listed owner was 11 years old or younger at the time of the loans. The loans issued in 2020 and in 2021 while the world struggled with COVID pandemic, and it is unclear what they were used for. While it is possible to have business arrangements where this is legal, that is highly unlikely for these 5,593 loans, as they also used an social security number with the incorrect name, the agency wrote. Doge and SBA government are working together to solve this problem this week, they added. When making the announcement, Doge shared on a post on X Tuesday when it was revealed that in 2020 and 2021, there was an issue of over 3,000 loans for a total of 333 million to borrow. Over one of the borrowers 115 years old, and it doesn't make sense. When making the announcement, Doge shared a post. It also revealed that in 2021 they issued loans to people who were over 115 years old. The borrowers were still marked as alive in the Social Security database. In one case, a 157-year-old individual received $36,000 in loans, the agency said. The loans include PPP, protection loan, and economic injury disaster loans. In President Donald Trump's address to Congress on Tuesday, he bashed instances where he said millions of people aged over 100 years old were listed on the Social Security database, with one being as old as 360 years old. So in other words, not only are they finding people who should be dead still alive and collecting SSI, children were being given PPP loans, which means our government failed on the fundamental basis, the basic bare minimum of making sure the person was real and of legal age They failed on that basic to verify. They failed at the base of the verifications. Everybody who was legitimately trying to save their business jumped through so many hoops to get these PPP loans. Some got loan forgiveness, mostly government officials who claimed they had a business that took out loans. They got forgiveness. Most people paid back their PPP loans. But the fact that they were seeing that, oh, this person's 11 years old, yeah, let's give them thousands of dollars at 11. 11. Yeah, because that makes sense. Oh, they were born in what year? 1909? Yeah, they're alive. Yeah, they're absolutely alive. Wow, they couldn't do the basic math. And they wonder why we are ranked number 40th in the world as far as education. So, geez. I just thought I'd share that little bit of information. You all can look this up for yourselves. Read it through. Tim Pool reported on this yesterday or today. And I just thought it was fitting to start this video out with that bit of information. While we were all struggling to survive during the COVID pandemic, a time where people couldn't even be with their loved ones when they were dying. I know that was a struggle for us because my daughter's father passed away during COVID. And people were gaming the system and being allowed to do so. Are we ever going to see arrests, Donald? Sir, Mr. Trump, are Pam Bondi, are we ever going to see arrests for the absolute blatant fraud? Yeah, let's just move on from that bit of information, because that just pissed me off. Okay, let's just move on from this. Okay. All right, so now we're going to go to the mental institution called MSNBC and see what stupidity is spilling out of their mouth, shall we?
All right, here's a question. Where does a city keep all of its money? The answer is, just like everyone else, they keep it in the bank. The biggest city in the country, New York City, has accounts at a regular bank. And on Wednesday morning, when officials checked the balances, they noticed that $80 million was missing. For a time, it wasn't clear where it went or who took it. And then yesterday afternoon, there was a break in the case, a confession from President Donald Trump's Secretary of Homeland Security. Kristi Noem tweeting, quote, "I have clawed back the full payment that FEMA deep state activists unilaterally gave to New York migrant hotels." That's MAGA speak for, I took New York's money.
Oh, bitch. Let's be honest. Okay, everybody's heard this story, but I'm showing this for a reason. There is something you're going to find out at the end of this video, thanks to Benny. Yeah, it's interesting. You're going to love this, but this guy's lying right off the bat. Yeah, because Donald Trump at this time had already signed the executive order halting all payments of any sort that have to do with anything until they can confirm what they are for, so that they know where the taxpayers' money is going. He was trying to act fiscally responsible, which is something every president, every congressman, every senator has promised to do but has not done once. But Donald Trump stepped in day one and said, we are halting all payments of any sort to anyone until we can get in there and figure out what the hell all these tax dollars are going for. And when he did that, Everybody got a cease and desist. No money's going anywhere. No big payments. No nothing. Until Doge goes through and figures out where this money's going. These people took it upon themselves to go ahead and send the money out anyways from a FEMA account, mind you, from FEMA. That's disaster relief. That has nothing to do with housing illegal people. That has nothing, that is for this. While Americans are living in fucking tents and only being offered a one-time payment of $750. Because that's all they can give them. No, but illegals, people that pay into the system can't get shit. But those that don't pay into the system and broke the law, they get anything and everything that an American can't even get. Fuck you very much.
Let's be clear, this is highway robbery.
The city's controller calling out the federal government for snatching millions of dollars right from New York City's bank accounts, FEMA funds to provide services for migrants, including shelters.
That is not what FEMA funds are for. That's not what our taxpayer dollars for disaster relief are for. And they wonder why FEMA has no money.
Like at the Roosevelt Hotel.
This is the newest lawless gambit by Trump and his unelected co-president, Elon Musk, an attempt to basically detonate...
I'm so sick and tired of these people. I'm sorry I keep stopping the video, but these people irritate the shit out of me with their trying to instigate a fight by calling Elon the elected president or the king or whatever. Their hyperbole is annoying because they're being hyperbolic to rile up the base of the dimwits that watch them for this very reason. To get them riled up so they do stupid shit like they're doing right now at Tesla. It's because of people like this.
Constitutional governance from within. By doing two things both men have a lot of practice at: reneging on contracts, refusing to pay people who perform services for them. So the whole thing starts, as so many of these stories do, with a tweet from Musk. Early Monday morning, the world's richest man tweeted that the Doge team just discovered that FEMA sent $59 million last week to luxury hotels in New York City to house illegal migrants. Sending this money violated the law and is in gross insubordination to the president's executive order. That money is meant for American disaster relief, instead is being spent on high-end hotels for illegals. You'll not be surprised to hear almost all of that
money was for disaster relief. While families are being threatened to have their children taken away and struggling to find a way to rebuild their lives after it washed away, everything they owned has been washed away, and they are struggling to survive, to hold things together, to keep their children with them. And you're sitting there bitching that FEMA funds were not given to illegal migrants, illegal aliens. This is your bitch? Not that families are living in tents in 17-degree weather here in North Carolina. Because, yeah, it does get down to 17 degrees. Even below zero here in North Carolina, up in the mountains, in the Appalachian Mountains. It actually snowed this year. And you're bitching that illegal migrants, illegal aliens were not going to be given hotel rooms on the FEMA disaster money? That's your hill you're going to... Okay.
That's complete bunk, as city officials were quick to point out. The $59 million Musk is talking about was part of the larger $80 million outlay to the city. Only a fraction of it was used to house migrants, and not a single penny of it came at the expense of any disaster relief. In fact,
except it did. It absolutely did. It absolutely did. FEMA is for disaster relief. It's in the title. It's literally what our tax dollars are supposed to be for. See, our tax dollars are taken out of our paychecks every time we get paid, and it's allocated for specific things. And FEMA is for disaster relief. Literally, for disaster.
the payment was issued through a grant from the Shelter and Services Program, a separate part of the government budget, but it's administered by FEMA and initiated by Congress in 2023 to issue grants to cities and organizations providing services to migrants who've been released from federal custody after crossing the border. That is to say, money appropriated by...
See, they're trying to make it seem like these people were granted permission to raid our coffers and get federal funds they're not entitled to, because you come to this country, if you come to this country legally, you are not allowed any federal funds for the first 5 years you're here. You're not allowed to get cash aid, food stamps, or medical. And that's if you come here legally. You did all the paperwork, you took the test, you paid your money. That's coming here legally, the right way. You want to tell us that people who came here illegally are more entitled to federal funds than the actual taxpayers who pay into the system? That's the hill you want. Die on it.
I have a vote in Congress, both houses, approved by President Joe Biden, right, to house legal migrants during an upswing.
No, the money was allocated to FEMA, not illegal alien funds. It was allocated to FEMA. FEMA was not supposed to give that money to cities begging for money to house the illegal aliens that broke our laws and came into our country uninvited.
In immigration in the United States. It was not to house them in luxury. Also, as you might imagine, it was to convert an old Manhattan hotel into a kind of modern-day Ellis Island where migrants were processed, given a health check, and offered temporary shelter and help.
Migrants are connected to a case manager who will help them decide next steps. If they want to connect with family or friends in a different state, the city will help them get there. If they need a shelter bed, the city will then assign them to a shelter site and help them get started on filing their asylum.
But see, that's the problem, is Donald Trump closed the border and created a state of emergency in regards to this subject because we don't want the 21 million people that broke into our country here. That's why he was voted into office. That's why he got the popular vote and the electoral college. He got all the swing states. He got them all.
Papers.
When migrants do get a place to sleep, the city comptroller says they observe the federal program's cap on hotel and shelter prices. That cap is currently $12.50 a night. Yes.
Well, in that case, the migrants were given more money than the actual taxpayers who the money was supposed to be allocated for. Because they only get $750, or one payment of $750, and then they have to sign out for a loan from FEMA that they are forced to pay back or they lose their land. the government comes and takes their land. If they forfeit on the loan that they have to take out with FEMA in order to rebuild their lives that washed away in the hurricane. Wow. Y'all are dying on some stupid heels.
So you heard that right. $12.50 a night in New York City. Okay.
It's still more money than those that have watched their entire lives and their loved ones died. That's still more money than they got.
Those are the facts. But within hours of Musk's tweet, the Trump White House fired FEMA's chief financial officer and 3 others for dispersing the legally allocated funds to New York City. Again, congressionally.
Once again, you're using bullshit language. FEMA is not for migrants or illegal aliens. It's not for them. It's for disaster relief. The money was allocated to FEMA for disaster relief, not for housing criminals.
Appropriated funds to cover an ongoing approved activity. And the co-presidents were adding new false details to their lie.
And again, it's not approved anymore. Because as soon as Trump got into office, well, just before Trump got into office, Biden closed the border. His last few months in office, closed it and started enforcing some semblance of law, just sort of enforcing it. There is no such thing as catch and release. It's you break the law, you get sent back. That's our federal law. That's on the books as federal law. If you come across that border illegally, you don't get to stay. You get a one-way trip back to where you came from and across that Mexico border.
Is about the case.
A hotel has paid $59 million. $59 million because it's housing migrants, illegal migrants. All illegal, I believe.
And they were being paid twice the normal room rate at 100% occupancy.
Unbelievable.
So it's a racket.
Based on those lies, they used the powers of the federal government to reach into the city's bank account to pluck back $80 million Congress authorized. They're taking money out of other people's bank accounts, calling it a clawback of taxpayer money. A lot of other people call it stealing $80 million.
No, stealing is what the FEMA workers did. They stole $80 million and fed it to NGOs. Or tried to feed it to the NGOs, but New York didn't get it out fast enough. So our government, our new government, took it back. Because it was stolen. That $80 million that was clawed back was stolen from FEMA.
Brad Landers, New York City Controller, essentially the city's chief financial officer, and he joins me now. It's good to have you here. Okay, walk me through how you discovered this.
Yeah. So yesterday morning, my chief budget deputy controller says $80 million is gone from the Treasury account of the Department of Finance. We think it was taken back by the federal government.
Did you know they could do that?
Never. I said, has this ever happened before? It is unprecedented. They gave us this money. As you say, Congress authorized it. We have a contract, a signed contract.
A signed contract. We have a signed contract with Biden, but Biden's not in office anymore. Thank God. Thank you, Jesus. Thank God. Thank God.
We sent them an invoice detailing all those expenses to only $12.50 a night on hotels. They sent us the money and approved the invoice, and then lo and behold, they just yank it.
And see, they're sitting there lying because Doge put the receipts up on X, showing that they were paying $59 or what was it? I forget the dollar amount. But he showed that they were paying a lot of money for these hotel rooms, more money than what the victims of Helena were getting. They were getting that nightly, along with food money and medical.
get right back. It is highway robbery.
Now, I want to be clear on one technical detail. I thought that we discovered that Treasury has some secret back end through the financial system to take people's money, which seemed really worrisome. This was an ACH payment, which technically...
Well, let me explain something to you. When you're on disability like me, because I'm sick, and I get too much money from disability, they will go into my account and take that back. They absolutely have that ability, and I've always had that ability. Just saying, that's when the IRS, if they overpay you or you don't pay your taxes, they will go into your bank account and take the money out without telling you, mind you. Oh, you'll get a notice in the mail, but that usually comes after you've had an overdraft because you didn't know the money was taken out and you're sitting there wondering what the hell is going on. The federal government has gone into your bank account and taken back some of their money. Just saying. This has always been their capability.
Can be canceled within 5 days. Although anyone who's ever gotten like a direct deposit knows that when it shows up in your bank, it's in your bank. You have the money.
Now let's be clear. I mean, we spent it last year.
Right.
We had actually moved it over the 5 days since they gave it to us. So when they actually did the clawback, it caused the account to overdraft by $79.5 million.
I'm sure the chief financial officer was psyched about that.
On top of that, Citibank, this is an account at Citibank, charged us a $15,000 overdraft fee. I'm happy to say I reached out to Citibank.
Welcome to the real world where the federal government has done this to so many Americans, it's not even funny. Sorry guys, I have to adjust my camera. It's just not sitting right. Sorry guys. I know this is very unprofessional, but I'm not professional in any way, shape, or form. I'm still a rookie. I'm almost there. I think that's better. Okay.
Bank, and they have refunded the overdraft fee.
That's menschy of them.
Better believe we're going to keep fighting to get every penny
Well,
of
but
that
you still
$8.5 million
you still don't have the
they owe
money
it to us.
I mean, so this was this service, this sort of pot of money was negotiated by members in the House and Senate. It was put into legislation. That legislation was signed by President Biden. It's being spent this year, right?
And we have a contract.
And you have a
signed
contract. You say, we're going to do this. We're going to pay that. That's the law. Do you?
No, sweetheart. It's not the law because it was FEMA funds, not illegal criminal funds. It's FEMA. Okay, I'm done with these fools. Let's move on to the next one. You're going to love Rachel Madcow. Rachel Madcow. Madcow. Because this lady is so mad. Oh, it's just, she's a fucking moron.
Why? Southern District of New York, the federal prosecutor's office there. The New York Times was first to report on these developments today, and here's how they led their initial report. Quote, Manhattan's U.S. attorney on Thursday resigned rather than obey an order from a top Justice Department official to drop the corruption case against New York City's mayor, Eric Adams. Then, when DOJ officials transferred the case to the Public Integrity Section at Main Justice in Washington, which oversees corruption cases, the two men who led that unit at Main Justice, quote, also resigned.
It couldn't be that they're Democrats who hate the fact that Donald Trump pardoned Eric Adams on the federal charges, corruption charges, because, when Eric Adams starts speaking out against the Biden administration, all of a sudden, an investigation for corruption pops up, and now his head is on the fucking chopping block just like Trump's was. Funny how when he was going along with the Biden program, he was free and clear. But as soon as he started saying this is bullshit, he gets charged with corruption. Not suspicious at all.
NBC News' Ryan Riley reports tonight that 3 additional officials in the Public Integrity Section at Main Justice also resigned after meeting the same top Justice Department official who is Trump appointee and Trump defense counsel, acting Deputy Attorney General Emil Bove. So if you're wondering what kind of day it's been thus far at the U.S. Department of Justice, it's a 6 resignation kind of day thus far.
And I ain't mad at it, because let me explain, Miss Mad Cow. If these Trump-deranged individuals want to give up their cushy government job on principle because they want to be able to go after their political opponents, and the DOJ is telling them, no, you don't get to do that, I'm all for it. The more left-wing lunatics we get out of government, the better.
But just to get the import here, just back up for a second. The mayor of New York City is Eric Adams. He's a Democrat. He's elected in 2021. The people of New York who elected Adams largely on his tough on crime platform would soon learn that federal prosecutors at SDNY in the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York, federal prosecutors started investigating him in 2021, even before he took office.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't. Because the investigation charges didn't come until 2023. That's in November. And you'll see that when she pulls up these news clips about him being charged.
Because they were looking into what appeared to be serious irregularities in his campaign fundraising. And this past September.
You look right here, November of 2023. That's 2 years after he was elected. Because the whole time and this is 2024, I can't see when this one was written. The whole time, for the first 2 years, he was going along with Biden's program of just bringing in millions, 21 million people into this country. He was going along with it for the first 2 years, but as soon as he started saying, we can't take it, you need to knock this off, close the border, this is unsustainable. Soon as he started going off on Biden, all of a sudden, corruption charges pop up.
Eric Adams became the first sitting mayor of New York City to ever be charged with federal crimes. He was indicted on a whole raft of charges involving allegedly fraudulent campaign contributions, also a rip-snorting alleged bribery scheme in which he allegedly took campaign funds and gifts and luxury travel from agents of the government of...
He got one upgrade, according to the charge, he got one upgrade on a flight he took from someone from Turkey, a diplomat from Turkey. What the fuck? Talk about petty.
Of Turkey in exchange for doing favors for the government.
What favors? What favors? If you're going to speak about something, show some fucking facts. What favors did he supposedly do for this Turkish diplomat?
Government of Turkey. But the charges themselves were like pretty straightforward corruption charges. You know, local politician charged with accepting money he's not legally allowed to accept. And in some cases,
much like the Democrats accepting money from China and Ukraine and Saudi Arabia, much like the money they received through their super PACs and their foundations, much like Biden received as a senator, then vice president, and then president, much like that. Yeah, where Eric Adams did was nothing like what Biden and the crime family did, or what Pelosi does, or what all the other Democrats do.
He's charged with allegedly...
A lot of the pot calling the kettle black.
Doing official favors in exchange for that money. Prosecutors in SDNY indicted Eric Adams in September. Mayor Adams vowed to stay in office, vowed to fight the charges. He was given a trial date of this spring, April of this year, to have his day in court. But then Donald Trump was sworn in as president, and this week, Donald Trump's Justice Department ordered the federal prosecutors in SDNY to drop their case against Adams, to drop the charges. Not because they said they had some new evidence vindicating Adams, but because, according to the new Trump appointees...
See, this is amazing. See, when Eric Adams was Biden's buddy, when they were all besties, the Democrats were all besties, when they were importing all of these illegal aliens into our country by the millions, Eric Adams was all hunky-dory and he was safe as a baby in its bed. But as soon as he said no more, now all of a sudden he's a criminal. And everybody that once loved him and once praised him and cheered him on, called him a hero for accepting all of these illegal criminals into his city with open arms, now they're all turning on him and he's a criminal.
At Maine Justice, the mayor was the victim of a political persecution. But here is something to note about the way they ordered the charges dropped against Mayor Adams. And I don't think this has gotten enough.
It is absolutely standard procedure to ask for the charges to be dismissed with prejudice. It's not that they are going to prosecute him later on. It's just standard procedure. She's making it sound. She's going to make it sound as though this was abnormal. If you've ever been arrested for something stupid and you were innocent, and the state ends up dropping the charges, they will dismiss it without prejudice so that you can't sue them for illegally arresting you and violating the sanctity of your home. Because otherwise, Adams, with the charges being dismissed, Eric Adams can sue the state for false arrest.
Of attention. In the memo from Donald Trump's personal lawyer, who's the acting deputy attorney general, Emil Bobek, the Southern District prosecutors were told by him that they needed to dismiss the charges without prejudice, which is a legal term that means the charges could be brought later, could be brought back again at a later time. The charges against Eric Adams, quote, shall be reviewed by the confirmed U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York following the November 2025 mayoral election, based on consideration of all relevant factors. So we're putting these charges on ice for now, so Eric Adams can run his re-election campaign without technically being under indictment, and then we'll see how we feel. And maybe we'll bring the charges back based on consideration of all the relevant factors. Talk about having leverage over somebody, right? Prompted this headline from Josh Marshall at his news site, TPM, quote, Donald Trump is now the mayor of New York. Quote, think what this means. Adams isn't off the hook. He's essentially been given 10 months to perform for his freedom, to perform for Donald Trump. And what might the Trump administration want from the mayor of America's largest city? Well, from the Justice Department memo ordering SDNY to drop the charges, quote, the pending prosecution has unduly restricted the mayor's ability to devote full attention and resources to illegal immigration. Oh, I see. Sure enough. Got it. And sure enough, today, Eric Adams met with Donald Trump's point man on mass deportations, and Mayor Adams promptly announced that he's going to start allowing federal immigration agents into the city's biggest jail complex, even though there is a city law explicitly against.
So you see how she plays this semantics game. Okay, here's something else I wanted you guys to see. Benny broke this, and I haven't seen this anywhere else. So we're going to have to do something from the Benny Show. Benny, thanks for bringing this to everybody's attention. Here we go.
Sometimes we like to entertain ourselves with funny thumbnails and titles and memes. And so when we say panic in DC, do we actually mean panic in DC? Yeah. Yes! Yes, in this case, absolutely. There is literal shredding of documents going on right now inside of government agencies. Get a load of this. A senior official at USAID instructed the agency's remaining staff to convene at the agency's now former headquarters in Washington for an all-day group effort to destroy documents stored there, many of which contain sensitive information. USAID official tells remaining staffers, shred and burn all your documents. The mass destruction order marks the latest step to dismantle the agency. Yes, this is real. Yes, this is actual panic. And why are they panicking? Well, would you look at this happening at the exact same time? The Democrat fundraising juggernaut, Act Blue, which mysteriously raises billions of dollars for Democrats up and down the ticket, but like raised hundreds of millions of dollars for Kamala Harris, got it, on her announcement. Raised a total of $2 billion for Kamala in 100 days. How's that possible? Really makes you wonder, because right now, the leadership at Act Blue have all fled. 7 of the board members have resigned. Some of them have left the country. All of the lawyers have quit, save one who sent an email, very mysteriously, anonymously, to all staff saying, you are under NDA, you are not allowed to be a whistleblower. That lawyer was locked out of his computer after sending that email. Something's going down. We would like to just posit to you that perhaps the reason why they're shredding documents at USAID was because the USAID slush fund money funnel that was supposed to go to children building schools in Kenya, whatever. That money was, of course, used to fund nonprofits run by left-wingers who...
Gee, I wonder, is there going to be proof that the Democrats have been funneling money through these agencies into these made-up corporations or LLCs so they can funnel it back into campaign donations through these super PACs like Act Blue?
Donated all that money to Act Blue to support Democrats, the self-licking ice cream cup, right? That continue to, they take a fat salary out of it, pay themselves $500 million, and then fraudulently donate through Act Blue. And we think that they are onto this, and that is why Elon Musk says Act Blue has committed massive, massive fraud. These are good examples from James O'Keefe's investigation group, noting how various individuals who've donated using Act Blue millions of dollars don't have any recollection of doing it. So you see a lady living in this house, like a teeny little old lady in her 80s. This lady supposedly donated 1,000 times nearly $20,000 in 2022. And she's like, what are you talking about? I never donated. I didn't donate to anybody. Act Blue is a fraudulent money laundering organization, and they got their money from USAID. And that's why they're shredding and burning the documents right now. It's panic time, literally, in Washington, D.C. Check this out. Department of Education offices temporarily closed until Thursday. What could possibly be happening here? All Department of Education offices will be closed Tuesday evening and Wednesday for an unspecified security reasons, according to a memo sent to all employees obtained by CNN. Employees are instructed to take their laptops with them and vacate the building starting at 6 p.m. The offices are set to reopen on Thursday, according to the memo. The department's office secretary said the individual who sent the memo didn't specify the security reasons. The department...
You know what I'd like to see? I would like to see, once the Department of Education is permanently closed and the states run their schools themselves without interference from the federal government, I'm eager to see how each state stacks up against each other, whether blue states are, because I'm telling you, my grandkids, we lived in California, and my grandkids, when we came to North Carolina, were 2 years behind in their education from what North Carolina is doing. So I would like to see how blue states are going to stack up against red states without the federal government interfering in the educational programs that they have. and which schools are going to be producing children that are more indoctrinated than they are educated. And those states that are in between, how their schools are going to stack up when they test these kids in 2-3 years on to find out where the test scores are in the education part of things. And I hope that Elon Musk and them can find the documents that connect Act Blue and USAID. I hope they can find the documents that prove that they have been funneling money from USAID into different LLCs that then funneled the money to Act Blue. Because how else do you explain Kamala Harris raising $2 billion in 100 days? How else do you explain that? You can't. It's not enough time to raise that kind of money.
Department of Education did not immediately respond to CNN's request for comment. Are they shutting down the Department of Education? Finally, breaking, staffers at the Department of Education just received an email telling them to vacate the building by 6 p.m. Department of Education staff told to vacate. Let's freaking go. Ladies and gentlemen, is the end finally near? Is Donald Trump going to shut down the Department of Education? Department of Education employees directed to vacate the building by 6 p.m. today. See ya! Something big is about to happen. Shredding documents over at USAID. And now, ladies and gentlemen, people are wondering. People are asking questions. Did I vote for an administration to abolish the Department of Education? You're right! I did. Guilty as charged. Why would they close the Department of Education? What does the federal government of Department of Education actually do? Elon Musk Doge is exposing it all. Doge updates on the Department of Education. Let's look. Doge found that $4.6 million in contract to coordinate Zoom and in-person meetings. There was a $3 million contract to write a report that showed that prior reports were not utilized by the school. And then you have a $1.4 million contract to physically observe mailing and clerical operations.
Are you fucking kidding me? $1.4 million to observe mailing and clerical operations. No, keep shrinking the government, bro, because fuck me. $3 million to write a report. The reports weren't being, on the fact that reports weren't being filed right. Get the fuck out of here.
Nobody wants these children to be uneducated. What we want is to look at how the federal government is spending this money and saying, you know what, actually there shouldn't be a Department of Education. Send it to the states. And it seems like this is what's happening. As well as regional office will be closed on Wednesday, tomorrow. Let's have a listen. Here's Fox reporting.
All right, breaking right now, senior Fox Business correspondent Charles Gasparino reporting that the Education Department employees have been told that they must vacate their offices in D.C. and the regions by 6 o'clock tonight, and that the offices will be closed on Wednesday for security reasons. Let's bring in Charlie. He is breaking this story this afternoon, hopping on set to talk to us about it. So give us some sense here. What are you hearing?
A little background. I mean, I have sources in the Education Department. They've been sending me these directives that have been coming since Linda McMahon was named Education Department chief about massive reductions. I mean, they're not hiding the football here. They're talking massive reductions in workforce. There was one email that went out that said you have until a certain date to apply for like a severance package, the sort of package that you could take with you if you leave early. And if you don't take that, well, guess what might happen? You might just get laid off. And Linda McMahon's announcement upon taking the job was pretty straightforward. We have a job to do. We have to reduce the size of government. We're going to massively reduce the education department. And as you know, this has been, the president himself cited to essentially to eliminate the Department of Education. Something that every Republican president since Ronald Reagan has spoke about. Remember, the Department of Education didn't come from the original founders. It was created by Jimmy Carter. Part of his sort of growth of government that he thought that.
Well, it's not only that is they couldn't create private sector jobs, so they created bloated government. When you can't create private sector jobs, and you're outsourcing our manufacturing jobs, our car making jobs, you're outsourcing everything to other nations. You have nothing else to do to say that you're actually improving things for the American people other than creating government agencies to boost your job numbers. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous. You're not creating jobs, you're creating bloat, and you're wasting our fucking money.
It was necessary that the federal government would have some lead in telling states what to do. Every state has a Department of Education. It's wickedly duplicative. So something's going down tomorrow. We should keep on it.
All right.
Everybody asking the same thing. Is it actually happening? Remember, the Department of Education was one of the first places that Democrats went to go harass.
Okay, so that's going to be it for now. I'll do another video tomorrow. I think an hour is sufficient. I had to do this video twice because something was wrong and it wasn't recording my voice. And the audio from the videos was completely distorted, so I had to redo it. But there you go, guys. Like the videos, subscribe if I've earned it, if I've informed you. Share the videos, leave a comment. I read every comment if there's ever left any. Most people don't leave them, which is fine too. But if you leave a comment, I will respond. No matter how hateful, I don't care. I really don't, because I won't, doesn't bother me. Alright guys, so like, share, and subscribe. Talk to you guys tomorrow.